Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of This Is Your Captain Speaking. Before we get started into this episode today, I just want to mention my face. So I nothing too major. I slipped when I was running and my entire body's force went into my face onto the pavement. So that's exactly why I look like this. So the next couple of episodes of this podcast, you'll probably be seeing this face looking like this, but I promise you it will get better soon. And enough about that. And we'll go straight on to our guest. So today, I'm super happy to have Anna Albinsson on, who's the CMO at Avoki. Anna's worked as a leader in various commercial roles over the past 15 years with a core focus on data and analytics. She's been focused on transforming brands and integrating companies after acquisitions. Amongst other things, Anna's been the CEO of Whisper Group, a global CMO at Dun Bradstreet, and has traveled around Europe lecturing on how companies can be data-driven. Today, Anna is building an IT company by merging three companies into one, which sounds like a lot of fun. Rather you than me on that one, I would say, just based on my experience. That is crazy stuff. But Anna, thanks so much for coming on. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So Anna, tell us a little bit about Avoki and where it stemmed from, what you're doing there, and what the focus is.
Yeah, so Avoki is actually a brand new company in one sense. We launched the brand on February 2nd, so like two weeks ago internally, and we have an external launch coming up here in March. So Avoki is like the leading IT company in the Nordics. It's created out of three different companies: Bluecom, Excite, and Office Management. Three companies with different IT competences and solving different kind of IT needs. So we are now bringing all this together to make sure that we become like a one-stop shop for everything that you might need as a company when it comes to the IT industry and IT support, which is a lot in these times with digitalization and all the technology that is around us every day.
So you've taken that, so that's what those three companies are and turning them into one. How many people are you just responsible for the marketing piece because you're CMO there? Is it just marketing that you're responsible for beyond?
Yeah, so we are, I'm driving the marketing department, and as a company as a whole, we are 300. The marketing department right now, we are 9 people. 6 of them focusing on marketing, but then I also drive sustainability, I drive CRM, and also e-commerce. So it's an extended marketing department, so to say.
Got it. And each of those different brands, did they all come with their own marketing teams that you needed to try to match together?
Yeah, I've done that before. This time it was a bit more easy, so there were not big marketing teams coming into my team, but still there is a lot of cultural integration to be done. There is a lot of processes that are not common with the different companies. They have their own websites, they have their own tools, they do marketing in different ways and so on. So now I need, together with those companies, to make sure that we become one. So from that point of view, sometimes it's easier to just launch a brand, to come up with, a new brand and a new name and some graphical design. That is pretty easy to come up with and implement. But then when you get into all the processes and really combining 3 companies, you meet and face a lot of challenges, of course.
Let's talk a little bit about those challenges, because I've done this, like over the past 2 years, I've done this 3 times across 3 different companies, right? And it's never been 3 in 1. Like 2 in 1 is a headache. I can only imagine what 3 in 1 is like. So let's talk about some of those potential roadblocks that you see. I think for me, one of the hardest pieces was like the go to market, even though normally like the product offering is normally complementary or similar. Sometimes it could be that you just buy a competitor, or a competitor merges together with you and then you just end up getting the customer list. There's always like, even with that, it sounds so clean cut, but it never is. So tell me about some of the challenges that you guys have faced, if you're able to talk about them even,
Yeah.
but and how you're coming up against them and what you're doing against them.
Yeah, first of all, I've done rebrandings and I have done acquisitions and I have also been acquired before. So I've been in different kind of roles. The big difference this time, I would say, is that we do everything at the same time. So now we have a new brand platform, we have a new graphical design, we have a new position in the market, we have a new name, We launch a completely new website and a new CMS, and we also launch a new marketing automation tool and completely new processes for marketing automation and lead generation. And everything will be launched externally on March 6th. So I've never done all these things at the same time, launching at the same time externally. So that is new for me, I would say. So it's a heavy workload, first of all, to do this, but it's really cool to make sure that everything is up to date. You have the best martech out there. You also have a new fresh brand that everyone is really high engaged about. So that is amazing. I would say that the biggest challenge right now is, or have been during this process, is that, of course, everyone, as all marketeers knows, have an opinion about brand. It's very, very close to heart. The companies that you acquired are really, they have a strong heart in their old company and their old company brands. And, that's the way it often is. But at the same time, when you update a completely new brand, many stakeholders will have an opinion, because it's about, it's also about colors, and, it's about subjective experiences about different brands. Someone like pink and someone like blue, and someone thinks the name is amazing, and so it's a lot about handling opinions, and you want people to be engaged and you want people to have opinions, but still you need to stay strong within your marketing competence and make sure that everyone isn't actually a brand expert. You need to be really strong in those kind of discussions, and I can find that pretty challenging to keep the engagement among people, but at the same time trying to really stick to the strategy and make sure that we follow the path that we have chosen.
Yeah, I get that. Everybody thinks they're a marketer, right? This is the age-old problem with marketing. So I mean, you might get CEOs that admit, oh, well, I don't know marketing, but then they come with all the ideas in the world, and you need to be strong enough to say, thanks for your idea, but it's not great.
Yeah, and you need to say that in a good way, so they keep their engagement high. I think it's also important, because you really want that engagement, but at the same time, you also really need to put that in a nice way and polite way.
Yeah, I think it's just, I'm gonna maybe say some less politically correct. It's about not being an asshole, right? But also stamping back your experience, And I think if you're able to prove your experience and prove that you know what you're doing, right? And clearly you've got the CV for it anyway, to say, okay, look, this is what I've seen work elsewhere.
And I think also that you're also going through so many different processes, because in this case, first of all, we have built the brand. So, from the beginning, the brand platform, position, name, design, and everything. And there you have a lot of stakeholders, and you have a lot of opinions from the board to people working in the company. You need to, convey them that this is the way forward. So that is the first phase. And then you need to launch it, and you need to get everyone accepted, and they need to be engaged about it. But then you also need to activate it. So you need, it's also heavy when you do the campaigns, when you get out there, when you talk about the brand externally, you also get a lot of reactions. So it's reactions all the way, and you really need to manage your own stakeholder management, but make sure that you keep the track, because you have made some decisions about the strategy for different reasons, and you should not forget that during the process when you get these strong opinions all over the place.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's also, you've mentioned the word process a number of times here. I think having gone through a number of messaging projects even this year so far, I've gone through 3 it's complete overhauls in messaging, right? Just, we're only in mid-February at this point, right? But the thing is, what I've more and more realized in doing this is that there's a process to it, that you involve a number of key stakeholders in the beginning. People all feed in their opinion and what they see as the important points to note. I typically run it like a messaging house, where you map out what the vision, the mission, the positioning statements, some of the core challenges that are solved, USPs, etc. And you create this massive piece of research, basically, which is informed by many different people within the organization, right? Not too many people within the organization is also important, but people that are key stakeholders that need to be involved in it. And then you go away, and based off of all of the input that you've gotten with a smaller group, you then come up with the mission and the vision and the positioning statement, some of the key messages around personas, etc. And then within that, you're already having this back and forth discussion as an internal group, being like, no, I don't agree with that, or I do agree with that, but I don't agree with this. And by the time it gets to other people where they're like, no, this is shitty and I don't like it or whatever, it's like, well, we spoke about that for an hour and a half 2 weeks ago, and we decided on this because of that. And people are like, oh, okay. Rather than it just being like one person's opinion and then it being like it leading the entire process, which you see it like earlier stage companies where CEOs like, I think the message needs to be this, and marketer just goes and does it. And it's like, well, that didn't work. And it's like, well, because nobody discussed it and there was no process around it and it hasn't been informed. It's just one person's opinion. Right. So there's that piece. And then there's also the piece around like not changing track all the time because one person is unhappy. Like you're not going to be able to make everybody happy with messaging. Right. So to go back to your point is like coming up with the brand, etc. Like not everyone's going to like it. Right. And how do you deal with that? Like what's your thing when the CEO comes and says, I'm not the biggest fan of this. Are you, what are you doing?
No, but I think that first of all, we need to, understand that you can't like vote about these kind of things. It's not like democracy because there are so many opinions. So you need to really argue in the best possible way. Why? And I think it's very important to come back to the purpose. So why are we doing this? Any company would like to not do a rebranding because it takes a lot of resources, it's extremely expensive, and it's heavy workload for a lot of people. It gets messy for the customers. So there are 100 reasons to not do a rebranding of different companies. But sometimes you have enough arguments to do it and you think it's a good investment. So always come back to why are we doing this? In this case, it's like, okay, we think it's more cost efficient in the long run. The old brands are a bit old fashioned. We think we can really benefit, get more customers and new customers. And, we have a lot of reasons behind this. And I think it's important to come back to why are we doing this? And then if you're doing your work properly, you get the brand platform and the strategy in place. And then you can always, as you said, go back to the strategy. So why are we doing this? Why is the graphic design? Why does it look like this? Yeah, it's because in our case, I can share with you when it comes to graphic design for Avoki, we want to really be a challenger in our market. We don't want to be a boring IT company. We want to spark, the IT industry. So that is one of our missions. But at the same time, we need to be trustworthy because we are really handling big companies, IT security, and so on. So you can not always have fun and laugh about things because it's also kind of serious stuff. So then I need to understand that this is always a balance. You can't be 100% trustworthy and 100% like,
exciting.
Yeah. So there is a balance, and this is the best balance that I have found in this graphical design. So also explain it in that way so you understand the context. I think that is really important. Context and purpose, and make sure that you as also do your job properly because you're going to be challenged, and when you have done the work good enough, you have done it really good, then it's easier to handle all these kind of comments that will for sure come your way.
Yeah, there's that's a good point there, and it's something I was trying to get across before is like don't try to create any shortcuts, because you need to have the knowledge based on the discussions that you've had with many people to be able to give that pushback when somebody comes and says, I don't think this is good because of XYZ.
Yeah, and I think also you will be challenged to do shortcuts because there's also there's a cost connected to this, and it's common that CEOs and others say, okay, we don't invest that much in the strategy, just fix it, just fix the name, or so you also need to stay strong and make sure that you do proper work. You're going to win in the long run, 100% sure.
Just change the logo. Just change the logo. Yeah. How difficult could it be,
And just so push the button and it will be implemented centrally from the marketing department into every single system, and everything will be updated. It just takes one day, Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know what you're complaining about. Come on. It's so simple. So I'm joking. So this is, so I definitely feel you on that end. But you mentioned that you're going live with a new MarTech stack on the 6th of March. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so the external launch of the brand will be on March 6th. So then we will launch avoki.com and .se and everything. And we have changed the CMS. So we are now on Umbraco. We had a really old platform before. So it's also been a full migration of the websites, but also, of course, taking care of the old ones and redirect and make sure that we have a really successful launch. And then we have, we will also launch HubSpot as our marketing automation system. So also starting a new lead generating process. These companies, they have not worked a lot with digital lead generation before. So that is also for me to make sure to really align with the sales, to make sure that we get all these processes up and running, because they are consultant, they are really well known. So they haven't used digital marketing in that sense, and there's also a really strong sales force within the company. So right now it's also a lot about integrating with CRM systems, getting the right lead scoring processes in place, and of course invest a lot in content and get the understanding from the organization of the importance of content when you are gonna set up a new lead generating machine. So it's hard to get the ROI back directly when you invest in the content, but you know it's needed to be successful, of course. So that is all in place, and everything will be released at the same time. So of course there is a lot of work to be done after you have launched, you know, like a new website and so on, to make sure that it's up and running, everything works, and you get the right SEO and everything. But we have a plan for that, so that is exciting times as well.
That's going to be fun, launching everything for March 6th. No pressure. It's only the week after next. That's all fine.
Yeah. And what happened also when we launched the brand is that we launched February 2nd, and then we said we just need like 4 or 5 weeks to implement, because everything was a secret until February 2nd. So no one knew about the brand launch, the name, anything in the company. So of course we need a few weeks to implement. Everyone understands that works with marketing. But now everyone is so engaged. They really like the brand launch, and everyone wants to do this, you know, tomorrow. So I'm now, you know, struggling with people doing their own stuff, putting up the Avoki logo in different ways and different things, trying.
Yeah.
But it's also good because they are so engaged. They really want to get forward. They want to, you know, so that's really good for me. So it's also the balance of being the police, saying no, but also keeping the engagement high. And, you know, it's really good that you want to use the new stuff, but please just give me 1 more week, and then I will implement a proper, you know, framework for you, so you can work within that. So.
That's cool. I mean, look, it's great that people are really engaged. I think you're going to end up in a situation, though, where you're going in a year from now, after a year, just a bit under a year after launch, you're still going to see some presentation floating around from some salesperson that created it in on February the 2nd or February the 3rd, you know, with the logo. And you're like, Jesus Christ, like, burn it, you know, take the new piece that I've done for you already. That's inevitable.
That will happen for sure. And there's always things that, you know, we have this really long, you know, list of things. It's hundreds of things that we need to update. But of course, you have forgotten something, of course, and, you know, but yeah, we will get through with like 95% or something at least.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. No, that's really exciting. Like, that sounds like a really cool project. It sounds exhausting, but it sounds like a cool project, especially with a relatively small marketing team. I would say like 9 people, as you mentioned before. I guess you're working with external resources as well on it, so external agencies, design, etc. Right?
Yeah. So of course, since this is like it's a heavy workload to run these kind of projects, we have an agency for this strategic marketing parts with the brand platform and with the design, the graphical design, and those kind of things. We also had some support with the launch. We had a really big launch for all employees, a really big event that was really successful, and the team worked really hard together also with agency on that one. And then I actually try to, now when we are implementing the brand, I also need external resources. Then I really try to use, you know, external resources that are not like big agencies just for the implementation. I try to have people on my team working for like 3 months or something, just, you know, doing their thing, working really close with us, to get away from this, you know, big agencies are good for some things when it comes to strategy, you know, but when you need to do the daily work, I think it's easier to work with like single consultants working really close to you. So that's the support I have right now.
Okay, they really get engaged with the team as well. I understand that. Okay, and just you mentioned HubSpot before. Are you guys going to use that as a CRM as well, or do you have a separate CRM?
If you ask me, we will, but it's not That of course is on my wish list. Of course, I have a fully integrated marketing automation and CRM, but we have like several CRM systems within the company since we are like merging different. We have merged companies before, and now we are merging it again. And everyone
that
working with
sounds like
this.
great fun.
Yeah, it sounds
Great
like
fun.
so. Right now there will be a lot of integrations to do. But I think it will work out fine. And we also know that, you know, investing in a completely new CRM system is also a heavy workload. It's very costly. You should have really good reasons for do that as well. So I think we have control of the integrations that we need to do. So we are now working with, yeah, we have like Dynamics. We also have SuperOffice. We have different CRM systems that we need to integrate now with HubSpot. But we try to keep HubSpot clean now to make sure that you have the front, you have the CMS, you have the marketing automation platform that is new, and that's the same for the whole company, for all markets and for every piece of the business. So that's really, really good at least. But then it might be a bit messy behind, but I've done that before, and it works out even though it's not optimal all the time.
Got it. Okay, well, look, we're coming right up on time now. This has been really, really interesting conversation. Thanks so much, Anna. It's been really interesting just to get a bit of like a look under the hood. Just actually before we finish up, how many people now are in total at Avoki?
300.
300 in total. Okay, so it's been so it's trying to get 300 people all on the same page in a relatively short space of time. No pressure. Easy. Easy. No, but look, that sounds like a really cool project that you guys are involved in right now. And I'm really hoping that everything works well. It sounds like everything's right on track for a March 6th launch. So I'm looking forward to watching this space and seeing you guys knock it out of the park.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having this conversation, Andy.
Yeah, no worries. And hey, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you? Is LinkedIn a good spot to get you, or where's the best
LinkedIn
place
is a
to find
very
you?
good spot. So you can find me there.
Perfect. Anna, thanks so much. It's been a real pleasure. And guys, this has been another episode of This Is Your Captain Speaking. Tune in again next week for more great content. Thanks again, Anna.
Bye-bye.